Welcome to the Security in 5 podcast. I'm Drew, the binary blogger. This is a daily show talking about news, tips, and opinions focused on IT and cybersecurity related topics for everyone. I believe we all have some security responsibility, whether it's at your home, school, work, or personal life as we use technology. The more aware you are of the security world around you, the more secure you can be. Thank you for listening. This is Security in 5. Episode 1028 of Security in 5, and today I want to talk about a new warning the National Security Agency has issued to government agencies as well as the public sector around securing wireless devices in public settings. Now, a lot of these warnings and cautions and tips are really no different than they were back in 2015. However, in this pandemic world, with a lot of people working in remote settings, work at home, and businesses having to rely on the individual behaviors, which is the biggest risk ultimately is the user's behavior in this. A lot of remote work, a lot of remote places where people are connecting to into more insecure areas. The NSA has released a new report, which is really tailored toward the user's best practices. And this info sheet gives national security systems, Department of Defense, Department of Industrial Base, and other users the best practices for securing devices when doing business in public settings, coffee shops, libraries, airports, whatever. The report describes how to identify potentially vulnerable connections and how to protect common wireless technologies, and it lists steps that users can take to help secure the devices and data. Now, while these are best practices, the best practices obviously do not ensure that data and devices are 100% fully protected, but what they do is they provide proactive protective measures that users can do and employ to improve the cybersecurity and reduce their risks. And that's really what security is that you're never going to hit 100% on any device, any process, any business, any department. Anybody that says otherwise is lying. Kick them out of your office immediately. 100% is unattainable. But what you do in security is you always move the ball forward. You become more secure. And sometimes that's all you need, is that you just need to be more secure than you were yesterday. You have username and passwords. Enabling multi-factor, for example, makes yourself significantly more secure and reduces your risk. Is it 100% foolproof? No. Is it exponentially more secure than you were the day before? Absolutely. And these are what those types of steps are doing. I'll run through a couple of them. And it covers three basic areas: public Wi-Fi's, Bluetooth, and they issued a new warning, a new caution around NFC, which is the contact for contactless payments and other close-to-device data transfers. We'll talk about that in a second. So for for wireless devices in general, the standard things are out there. Keep your software up to date. Make sure you have antivirus, anti-malware software if applicable. Use multi-factor authentication whenever possible. Make sure that your devices have secure codes enabled on them. For laptops, make sure you have firewalls and configured to restrict inbound and outbound connections by applications. For Windows laptops, there's some additional settings that you can change. And really the don't warnings is don't leave your devices out in public settings, locked or unlocked. Don't leave them out sitting unattended, and don't name your devices something identifiable to your name. Jane's computer, John's laptop, Bob's cell phone, things like that. For public Wi-Fi, this is really kind of the big one, is you need to be using a VPN. So connect to wireless hotspots that you're familiar with. If you're connecting to unfamiliar or untrusted wireless, use a VPN. And then when you're not using Wi-Fi, disconnect your Wi-Fi or turn off, go into airplane mode if you're not going to be on a Wi-Fi network. Just disable the Wi-Fi to allow or prevent your device from reconnecting to networks that you may come into contact with. Try not to enter sensitive account information on untrusted Wi-Fi networks. Don't do your banking at a coffee shop. Don't do sensitive conversations, proprietary conversations, or anything sensitive, through chat messages while you're connected to online public Wi-Fis. The really summary here is that in a public Wi-Fi, say you go to a coffee shop or a library or whatever, and you connect to the wireless access point, you are not 100% guaranteed that wireless access point, even though could be called, Starbucks store 123 or Caribou or Dunkin' Donuts or whatever, you don't know that that is the wireless access point for that store. Anybody can make up any wireless access point and call it whatever you want. You can have multiple wireless access points, the same name, out there broadcasting it. So if you connect to one, it may be the real one. It may be what we call an evil twin. And that evil twin could be set up to, could anybody had set it up, put it in the store, put it in the location of the store, all you had to be in close proximity, people connect to it, and then that one is designed to collect everything sent through it. Key loggers, transactions, all of that type of stuff. And that evil twin is just a data consumer. You think you're connecting to a legitimate public Wi-Fi hotspot. In reality, a hacker or some malicious person set that up to collect any and all data about it. And really, at the end of the day, doing something like that, setting up an evil twin wireless access point in a public area, is really hacking 101. That's kind of the first, kindergarten, first grade level type of stuff that you teach here in hacker school, is go get a wireless access point, little Raspberry Pi, build something up, put it in the ceiling. All you gotta do is plug it in and just let people collect it, go back to the store, take the SIM card out, and then there you've got all the logs. It's just hacking 101. So that's why public Wi-Fi is so problematic and very dangerous. But VPNs, know what you're connecting to. Don't do sensitive data or sensitive transactions around it. If you're using corporate networks or corporate devices connecting to a public network, make sure you're using VPN. A VPN will ensure that your end-to-end communication is encrypted, that even if you do connect to a hacked or a evil twin access point, the data still transmitted across will be encrypted. It's still risky, but the data that you're transmitting won't be able to be read through the access point. And then lastly, Bluetooth and NFC. So the wireless contact payments, this is mainly more for mobile devices. And for Bluetooth, if you don't use Bluetooth, especially on laptops, if you don't have the need for NFC, disable Bluetooth, turn those features off if you can. And then for anything NFC, don't bring your devices near other unknown electronic devices. This could trigger automatic communications. Don't use NFC to communicate passwords or sensitive data. NFCs are generally going to be for your payments, your cards, your cell phones for payments and things like that. But other things like ID cards, passports, others do have NFC chips in them. And just be aware of what you're connecting to or what you come into contact with. So I'll put the link to the report in the show notes. It'll be a PDF off the National Security Government site. Again, it's a big enough issue where the National Security Agency has issued this report and put out the cybersecurity information sheet. Like I said, it's a good read. Download it. It's a few pages long. There are some good tips in there just to reiterate and remind you to do the best practices. Security in 5. Be aware, be safe. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of Security in 5. If you have any questions on today's episode or any suggestions for future content, feel free to drop me a line. Reach out to me at Twitter, post a question on the Reddit channel, or go ahead and drop me an email. If you want to continue to support the show, you can head over to the Patreon site. All the links are in the show notes of every episode. And remember, be aware, be safe. Thanks for listening.